License and registration, please.
Officer, I just pulled on the
License and registration, please. Cops are notorious for commanding respect, intimidation, and controlling a situation. In today's video, I'm going to teach you all the sneaky techniques that they employ against you. I'm Barron Cruz. Welcome to the Charisma Matrix. Think about the last time you got pulled over by a cop. How did it feel? In fact, if you're open to having a little fun, in the comments below, leave me a comment that says, last time I got pulled over by a cop, I felt. Maybe you felt like he had a lot of control in the situation. Maybe you felt supplicated, like you had no control at all. And it's not because cops are born these master influencers. In fact, there's very simple techniques that they employ to come across this way that I'm going to teach you in this video. I'm going to start out by talking about the overarching techniques, and then at the end, I'm going to give you a couple kind of sly tricks that they use that once you're able to understand, it'll prevent people from using them against you, but also enable you to use them in your own life when you see fit. All right, so the way this is going to be structured is I'm going to give the technique, I'm going to show you an example of what it would look like in real life, and then I'm going to break down the reason that they're doing this technique. What are they accomplishing by employing this technique? The first thing they do is when they ask you to do something or ask you a question, if you don't directly comply or succinctly state an answer, they're going to talk over you by simply repeating the question with a more authoritative, powerful tone. You saw this in the beginning of the intro where I asked again for the license and registration. So let's look at an example of what this looks like. License and registration, please.
Officer, I just turned on the...
License and registration, please. All right, another spin on this technique is when you do answer their question, but not directly, and you drag off into an excuse. They don't want to hear your excuse. They don't want to waste the time. And the more you're talking and the less they're talking, the better it is for you. So they're going to cut you off in your tracks. Let's look at an example of what that looks like. Do you know how fast you were traveling?
Well, I was going over the speed limit, but I thought
That's exactly right. You were traveling over the posted speed limit. Now hold tight while I run your information. Okay, the reason for this technique. Why are they doing this? Well, anytime anyone successfully talks over another person, it establishes dominance over that person. Whether it be social dominance, physical dominance, it implies all of these different things. Because the person who is getting talked over doesn't stand up for themselves, doesn't continue to talk, doesn't not allow them from talking over them, is acting in submission. So all of these different things that I'm going to use, I want you to imagine in the wild where there's two bucks and it's mating season and they're all very aggressive and they're going against each other. When one buck comes in and cracks him and the other one just kind of backs down in a little bit of submission, that's what happens once each of these tactics are employed successfully. The person that the officer is talking to is going more and more into submission, which means they're going to be less likely to challenge anything he says. They're going to accept his role of authority. Now, everyone knows policemen have authority, but in each specific interaction, the officer wants to establish that authority to be sure that it's not on deaf ears, to be sure that you understand his authority in that situation. So even though it's implied by their position within the government, within the country, in the US and in other countries, he wants to reaffirm that in every portion of the interaction, which is going to prevent your pushback and make things much smoother for him. Now, let's look at this as an example in the business world. Who typically talks over another person? Well, the boss or someone who is a superior in the organization typically feels comfortable doing that with other people or with subordinates. Now, the best managers won't do that because they respect people at all levels, but you'll see people who strive on positional power that they will do that to re-exert their authority. The next technique that is used is a mindset, and the mindset is always remain calm in every situation. As someone else, say they pull over a citizen and they're talking with them, as they get more worked up and the officer stays calm and cool, it's a sign of confidence. And why is this? It's because people who have confidence and high social value, they don't respond to emotional stimulus like other people. They're in control of their emotional ecosystem. So people who are low status, when they see somebody get amped up and their emotions get the best of them, they will get amped up as well. You are not responding emotionally, showing control over the situation, showing dominance over the other person. People who lose control of their emotions are basically showing that they're at a lower level. There's no reason that they would respond to this officer or to anyone else with an emotional feel unless they feel like they're of higher value or higher social power or a more powerful position than them. Think about it in your everyday life. Let's say that some bum, you're walking on the street and the bum's like, "You got a quarter?" You're like, "No." He's like, "Ah, that shirt sucks." You're not going to think twice about it. But someone that you respect, let's say you go to a book signing and your favorite author's there. Like, "Hey, I'm glad you stopped by. Here's the signature. Anything special you want me to write in it? By the way, that shirt sucks." You're going to be thinking, what's going on? You're going to think about that because you're going to have emotional reaction to someone who you respect, you admire, you think has authority and power. So they're going to stay calm in every instance. Now, a little side note, the most important time for them to do this is when they're in crowds. Because when they're in crowds and they're outnumbered, you need to stay calm because the minute the crowd feels the officers, like you see this in riot control, getting out of control of their own emotions, the group and the rioters are more likely to attack. So they're going to stay very calm all the way to the end. If a riot ever does lose control and people do breach conduct and an attack, whatever you want to call it, they're going to stay calm and cool the whole way. It's very important for crowd control. And it's also important how other people pick up on your state. You as an authoritative position, whatever you're feeling, other people are going to feel. So by them keeping nice and calm and cool, they're basically laying a level, an air, a fog of calm on everyone around them, as well as exerting their authority, dominance, and social status. Police officers are going to use very slow, deliberate, and controlled body language. Think of a silverback gorilla in the wild or in the zoo last time you saw one. The alpha, the one that leads the pack, is always very chill. He's moving slowly. He's got low cortisol, the stress hormone, and he's not reacting to anyone else. He's not in a hurry. He's not, just because this guy's running around like an idiot over here, he's not going to pick up on that and run around. He's very calm and cool. Slow, deliberate motions. It kind of has to do with that calm thing I just talked about. But more importantly, it shows you're not in a rush for anyone else. You're in control. You're taking your time. Just because you pulled over on the side of the road, he's not worried about your time. You late for a meeting? He's writing a little bit slower. He's showing that he has control by utilizing his I guess, ability to keep you, not against your will, but against what you would like to do. Actually, he can keep you against your will in a lot of instances. So he's going to flex that authority just to put it in your face so you know he's in control. You're in a big hurry, he's not at all. He's moving slowly, deliberate head movements, not in a rush at all. This has a big impact on how your communication and what you're saying is perceived. If I'm telling you right now, "Hey, do you know how fast you were going over there?" Versus, "Do you know how fast you were traveling?" You're slowing it down. Eye movements, facial movements are a lot less. You're calm. And your calmness and your slow movements show themselves in your voice, because when you're tense, your voice gets a little higher, it gets more nasally. And when you're calm, you sound much more authoritative because it's communicating what you're feeling in your body out. So the officer's communicating his strength and his calm when he's making slow movements, he's relaxed, and he's acting like the silverback gorilla in the wild. Now, the next thing an officer is going to do is he's going to exert as much pressure, socially and authoritative pressure on you as possible. How does he do that? By squaring up to you and looking you just like this. How does this feel compared to when I'm kind of off to the side talking to you like this? "Hey, how's your day going?" "Good." License and registration? Versus, "How's your day going? License and registration, please." When you're square to somebody, it exerts so much pressure. So they're going to be square to you and they're going to have a wide stance. Their feet are going to be wide. It looks more solid. It gives off to someone else's subconscious that they're in control versus you can't see my legs right now, but just do it yourself. And how do you feel? You don't even have to cross your arms. If you want to, you can. How does it feel when you got that wide stance versus something like this? It makes you feel stronger, makes you look stronger. Once again, look at riot and crowd control. Always wide stance, arms crossed, or something in front of them. It just exudes power. All right, one of the most important components of an officer's strength in communication and dominance and control is his tonality. There are 3 different types of tonality: rapport seeking or supplicative, rapport neutral, or rapport breaking. Officers are almost exclusively going to speak and report breaking tonality the entire time that you're stopped at a traffic stop or that they're interacting with you, stopping you on the street, however it may be. Let me give you an example of this. Rapport seeking ends with how are you? How's your day? Not only does it end with an upward swing and the tone goes up, but also a lot of times it just starts and ends high. How are you? Tense throat muscles, and it's sub-communicating. I don't want to do anything to make you angry, so I'm going to talk just like, a little boy, so you can't get mad at me. You have to love me. Hey, how are you? I'm a clown. Rapport neutral is more like I'm talking to you right now. Hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? Good. Strong, but neutral. You're on neither side. And rapport breaking curves at the end and is lower and deeper. So how's your day going? How are you? License and registration. It breaks rapport. So it's telling the other person subconsciously, you're not trying to make friends. You don't have to worry about whether they're happy about the way that they're talking to you or not. That's not of their concern. They're getting things done. So they're going to talk in a rapport-breaking tonality. This sounds so authoritative when you talk like this. It commands respect in a way that I feel like no other communication tactic can. It communicates, once again, so many things inside of you that you're not explicitly saying, but you're communicating all these things that would take 15 minutes to sit down and tell them. Okay, I've been an officer on the force for 15 years. My experience is this. I've been in this many hostage situations. I've had to fire my weapon this many times. You can communicate what that means just by using strong and impacting tonality. Now, I know a lot of times people will say, well, maybe I wasn't born with the deepest or strongest voice. And I know how it can be a bit of a struggle when you don't feel like people respect when you start talking. They don't look and always give you attention, or you're not very commanding with your voice. And I just released a product that helps people develop a strong, resonating voice that commands that respect, that draws that attraction from the opposite sex. I was actually diving deep into some really technical papers that talked about the impact of voice versus the way you look. And it's incredible. Like if you're talking to a girl, and the way you look, everything about the way you look is 100% on the impact that it has. Your voice has 88% that strong of impact. Think about that. Did you ever think that your voice had that much impact on your rated attractiveness as the way you look? I had no idea. And in business, it is 68% as indicative of your dominance. So let's say you're in sales or trying to rise in the corporate ladder. You want to be seen as dominant, right? Leaders are seen as in control and dominant. So the way you look has 100, the way you sound has 60-some% as important. So if this is something that you're looking to get improved, I encourage you to click right here and take a look at the program. All right, let's get into some of the tricks that officers use to gain compliance and authority over you. Number one, it's repeating a request before you have a chance to possibly fulfill it. So they're going to tell you to do something and you're immediately going to start doing it. But while you're doing it, they're going to repeat the request like you're not doing it. Let's take a look at what this looks like. All right, have a seat on the curb right over there. Have a seat on the curb right over there. Sit down. See, what this does is it rattles people because people are most of the time trying to act in compliance with the officer. And when they do that, they feel like they're not doing what the officer said. So they're going to feel like the officer's mad at them. So even though the officer's not, it's just a technique to get that supplication. They're going to feel like, oh man, I'm doing stuff to piss off this officer. He's going to be mad at me. Now I need to be even more supplicative. I am going over there. I'm trying to sit down, right? Or not say anything at all, but feel like they got to make it up by even being nicer. This is a real dirty trick. And I don't mean dirty as if they shouldn't be doing it, but it's a dirty trick. I call a dirty trick anything that you can't win when someone says something. Like it's something that no matter what the other person says, they're trapped, right? Because what can they do? I am sitting on the curb, or just not respond at all, but then they feel like they got pushed around by this guy because they didn't say anything. There's nothing you can do in that instance unless you want to try to say, sit over there on the curb. You start moving, and then he says, sit on the curb. You say, officer, I'm walking as safely as controlled as I can. He's going to interrupt you. Officer, did you not hear me? He's not going to give you a chance. There's no way you can win with that tactic. So a little dirty trick is a great way to gain compliance by making the other person feel like they're not doing what you say, by making them feel inferior, and lastly, by making them feel like they're pissing you off by doing something wrong, by not complying, even when you actually are. Eye contact is almost as important as tonality. When you look someone in the eye with unwavering confidence and dominance, it communicates all these different things that evoke compliance. Not many people have the ability to truly look at somebody's eye, no muscles flex in their face, because flexed muscles are weird. Some people have weird looks and twitches, like their natural face looks like that. It's a defense mechanism. Unless it's something that physically you can't control, it's a defense mechanism trying to communicate something to other people, and that's a big subject that I may get in at some point. But what I'm saying is, if an officer looks at you unwaveringly with a confident, dominant look in the eyes, it's so powerful. It brings out compliance in people because most people aren't able to do that. Now, because their position affords them dominance and power, it's easier to do that. If someone gives you permission, if someone says, okay, you're the head of this daycare for the next hour with a bunch of 10-year-olds, well, you're probably going to look at them and talk to them very confidently, right? You know you're the head of it. You know you've got the legal authority, the legitimate authority. So an officer knows they have legitimate authority, the entire government and country that will back them up. They can more easily give off that really strong, unwavering eye contact. You can do that too. You just have to build up that confidence internally. It's not, no one's handing you that confidence saying, okay, do this. Look, it's okay. You can look like this. There's so much social pressure pushing back at you saying, hey, you can't look like, why are you so confident? Didn't you, in high school, didn't you get picked on? You can't be confident. You missed that jump shot to lose the game last week at a pickup ball. You can't be confident. You know, all these different things that are coming at you pull away from that confidence, but you can get to that point you're confident. Now, this eye contact tactic, for instance, cops have to use this tactic because they're put in physically threatening situations every day that as an average citizen will never be put in our entire life. So we need to remember this. When interacting with cops, these things are very necessary.
Let me ask you this. Why in school are we not taught about social skills and how to interact and flirt with members of the opposite sex? It's two of the most important things we'll ever do in our lives. Find a mate, someone we marry and spend our entire life with and maybe have kids with, and be successful in business, roll in a corporation, do better at sales. It blows my mind how with all of the curriculum, we're teaching kids to code and do all these cool things, we completely neglect advanced social skill. So if you're interested in improving your social skill and all things pertaining to general social interaction up to the most high level, including tonality social interaction, you can click here and I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the things I have that could help you out. Now, if you're at a point where you want to improve with your interaction with someone that you're interested in romantically, maybe you just feel like you're kind of in a rut, you haven't had any dates lately or haven't had dates with the quality of woman that you know you deserve, you can click right here and we can talk about some stuff that I've got for you that can get you dialed in on that front as well.